Hello, so this is my visual text reflection for week number 6. And I'm first going to start off with a quote from the first video, which is Black Theater, The Making of a Movement. And the quote was from Ruby Dean, and it said, I think indigenous to Black drama, Black musical is a sense of humor. I don't even call it comic. It's a philosophical relief. It's something like church. Then some time passes and she continues to state, it's one of the things that's enabled us to survive for such a long time. So I unpacked this quote and obviously related it back to a quote from Combahee River Collective Statement, 1977. And the quote was, as Angela Davis points out in Reflections on the Black Woman's Role in the Community of Slaves, Black women have always embodied, if only their physical manifestation, an adversary stance to a white male rule, and have actively resisted its inroads upon them and their communities in both dramatic and subtle ways. I think these two quotes are very related just because it talks about how the black female body really plays a role in these women's lives. They use them for good. They use them for their own niche or gimmick, as Baldwin would call it, just to sort of, find their own passion, express themselves in a healthy way, and also take their focus off the oppression and sort of their adversary attitude toward the white male rule, and just sort of be able to express themselves for a little while. And I think that's a great way to sort of combat this oppression and brutality in a positive sense. I do think it's a great alternate way to do that. The next quote I would like to talk about is from the second video, Her Pen is a Machete, the art of Nozake Shang. Sometimes I forget how to pronounce that. And the first one I wanted to talk about was a quote from Soyika Diggs Colbert. She's really asking us to think about how we might. She states she's really asking us to think about how we might understand the comportment, the language, the joy that is made in communion with Black women's bodies and their voices. I thought this was also really important because obviously it relates back to For Colored Girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough. And I think it ties into one quote by Shang when she says, being alive and being a woman is all I got, but being colored is a metaphysical dilemma I have not conquered yet. I think those two tie in perfectly together, just because being a woman for these ladies of color really just acts as a mindset, a lifestyle, and a way to combat the oppression that everyone is experiencing, all while doing it through expression of dance, theater, art, and using their bodies as a means to sort of shield the oppression that's coming their way and to also prevent that from their children, which is a really interesting connection I made. And I think this quote from the video also connects to women in prison because it talks about how women see stealing or hustling as necessary for the survival of themselves or their children because their jobs are scarce and welfare is impossible to live on. So I think these women's actions, whether it's in dancing, using their bodies for expression of art, or even the women in prison, none of these people, they're just using this as a mode to combat and survive, all in just different ways that we haven't seen before. So I think those really are interconnected, and they all have their own intrinsic value to a movement for equal treatment as well as expression. Thank you very much.